me.
While I'm waiting for us to start,
Okay.
let me see your little, where do you have, oh, okay. That's interesting. It doesn't usually do that. Would you rather use the handheld after I do?
It
Or
doesn't
do you
matter.
like this?
It doesn't matter.
You're going to feel like you can't move. I should have put you in a headset. I used to use one of those all the time, and it didn't do that.
Really?
It didn't do it here. Yeah, try moving around and see.
Okay.
If you want to switch, you just turn that one off, and I'll give this to you.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Hi to those in here. We'll probably have a few more come in. And hello online. We're so glad you're joining us online. And tonight we're talking about supporting parents and caregivers of special needs children. And before I introduce our amazing speaker, I wanted to give a testimony, because we're supposed to do that, aren't we, in church? And we're supposed to share the good things that God does. And I shared this with Krisshonda just a few minutes ago, but I have been so blessed to watch the way that churches have supported our family. So we, as y'all know, we have a 13-year-old who's on the spectrum, and we've been blessed at every stage by churches who loved him and met him right where he was. And now when we have worship, he dances like this, and he's in the mood and expressive. And I remember early on, I was so nervous that someone would judge us. That's always the fear, I think, as a parent, regardless, but especially when you have a special needs child. There's that concern that you'll be judged and that they will be excluded in some way. But I've had so many people comment how they love the way he dances. And that's so sweet, and we appreciate it. And this past Sunday was Confirmation Sunday, when our young people put their faith in Jesus for themselves and decide to be a member of the church family. And something that blessed me, because we were leading the confirmation service, and I kind of had to let it soak in after the fact. But I realized a couple things. First of all, we give our confirmands disciple rocks. And if y'all haven't seen them, they're large rocks that have their name on it. And then it has the word discipled. And it's just really lovely. And I've heard that kids take them to college. And so it was time to give Malachi, our son, his disciple rock. Well, our church family knows you don't touch Malachi, and you don't even touch the same thing as he's touching at the same time. And evidently, he just stood there, and he was not going to take the rock. And from what I hear, Marcus, our music minister, then said, put it on the floor. And Tim then puts it on the floor, and Malachi happily takes it. He just needed a little distance. And I thought, what a beautiful way for a church family to include him and to adapt on the spot, right? We didn't think to say, Tim, you'll have to put it on the floor. That did not cross my mind. But he was ready to be flexible and kind and gracious and to just put that rock on the floor. And Malachi got to be included and pick up his rock and come and sit down. And then I looked at the pictures that I took of the prayer time. And so we have a time during the service where the confirmands kneel down, their families come behind them and pray, and then church members come and pray behind them. And so we had a very small family here that day, but we did have some church members who came behind him to pray. And so I was taking pictures. I always do that for church. Are you all on to me? I take pictures because I want to capture the beautiful moments. And I got pictures of the different families, and then I got a picture of our family. And when I went back and looked at that picture, I noticed that whereas it's pretty common to place a hand on a child when you are praying for them, those who prayed for Malachi knew not to do that. And they just stood there and did this, or just put their hand on the prayer rail. And I just thought, wow, look at these sweet friends who love our son, and they've watched him, and they understand his special needs, and they still let him participate in the faith of our church in a different way. And I mean, we hope that we do that for all of our kids, because all of our kids are unique in some way, and all of us are too, and we need to engage in the faith in different ways. But what a blessing it was just to see our church love on my child. And just in a personal thing, can I just say thank y'all. Thank you for the way you love Malachi. And because I see that, I know that we can love every child that comes in the doors of our church, because I've seen it We're a loving church, and we welcome all kinds of kids and all kinds of families. And with that in mind, just want to welcome y'all. Thank you for being here. We're so glad you're here. And Krisshonda Odufuwa, I got it right? Can y'all say her name with me because it's fun? Krisshonda Odufuwa. Don't you feel awesome? Krisshonda, come on up, and she's going to share a little more about her expertise and about herself, and I'll leave that. But I'll just tell you that when we met, it was a God moment, wasn't it? It was such a God moment, and we knew that God brought us together. And from that moment, it was just, we knew that she'd come and speak and share her heart with us and share her wisdom and her knowledge. So would y'all give her a big round of applause?
Hello, everyone. It is such an awesome feeling to be here with you guys tonight. I want to be completely transparent, okay? Blossom doesn't even know this. So I'm going to give just some insight information. So Blossom has no idea what are on these slides. And when I tell you that the Lord is specific in his work and what he does, when she decided to come and share with you all about her lovely son, she continued to talk about love. And I'm going to talk about love. I'm going to talk about a lot about what you all can do when it comes to supporting a child with special needs. And I'm just thrilled because the Lord works in mysterious ways. You know, we always think about that, right? But it's really true. She had no idea what was going to happen on these slides, and she just made the platform so nicely, and I am super excited about this. Another thing, guys, I'm going to step down here a little bit. I'm very animated, so I want to warn you now, animated, and when I say that, I mean I get passionate and I get really excited about what I do, and so if you just see me extra, just love on me. Love on my extraness and my excitement on a Wednesday at 6:41 when all of you probably should be cooking for your families or something like that or cleaning, but you're here with me, and I appreciate you all here, and I appreciate everyone that's watching online. All right, now, another thing before I start, I like to make my talks very personable. I'm a personable person. I want to connect with you all, and I want to look at everyone in their eye. And if I call you up, don't be shy. Okay, I won't. I'm not going to call you up today. But if Blossom invites me back, then I'm going to call you up right here next to me. Yeah. Okay. Yes, we are going to talk about how you're going to be able to support parents and caregivers of special needs children. When I was preparing this talk, I specifically wanted to go into speaking about children with autism. And why? Because that is where my specialty lies. I am a board-certified behavior analyst. I'm a licensed behavior analyst in Texas, and I'm also a speech-language pathologist assistant. In addition to that, I do have a master's degree in special education with an emphasis in applied behavioral analysis. Every time I say that, it makes me feel kind of weird just because it's so long and my credentials are long, but I try my best to go in detail just so you kind of know a little bit about my experience and who I am. I am going to try this awesome clicker to see if it's going to help me get to that next slide. Oh, yes, there we are. So going in more detail about who I am, outside of those credentials, I'm a mommy. I have 2 boys. I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. My 5-year-old will be 6 next month, and we'll get to talk about parenting in just a little bit, right? And I'm also a wife. My husband and I have been married. Next month, actually, will be 10 years, 10 wonderful, beautiful years. We're super excited about that. And in addition to all of those things, I'm a speaker, I'm a writer, and you know what? I'm actually reading that's who I am. I'm all of those things. But actually, guys, what's really more important to me is that I am a believer believer in Jesus Christ. Forget all that other stuff. Forget all those credentials. I am, my mom and my father, they raised me to love Jesus and find him as having a personal relationship with him. And so daily I work on that, and daily the Lord continues to tap me on the shoulder and give me knowledge and wisdom. And as a gift, he has given me the ability to love those parents who have children with special needs, and of course, children with special needs, specifically autism. And just through all of that, I've learned to continue to love, continue to pour into parents, especially when it's very difficult. And when I say difficult, I mean managing those behaviors. How to manage those behaviors, what do you do when maybe they're not doing X, Y, Z and you want them to do A, B, C. All of those things, those categories fall within my specialty. Okay. We're going to click. Yeah. All right. If you are here, I just want to say thank you. And you are here. So thank you so much for being here. You being here, you probably either know someone with who has a special need, maybe. You either are a parent who has a child with a special need, or you're just here to support. Like, I just want to support those who do have special needs. And I want to say thank you, because you are sitting here, but you're making a big difference already. Just listening to this presentation, listening online, your presence and you developing more knowledge and wisdom, all you're going to do is walk out of these doors and share them. And that's exactly what I want you to do. That's exactly what the Lord wants you to do, is to provide more knowledge and wisdom and love to all families. And we're going to use the clicker. Perfect. Okay. I'm going to take a little sip of water. This is a time where you guys can, like, eat your candy and stuff, too. Yeah, don't be shy. I'm gonna get Snickers when I leave, but perfection. I have a question for you guys, a serious question. How many languages do you need to know to communicate love with the rest of the world? And when I say the rest of the world, I mean literally overseas, everywhere, the entire universe. So how many languages do you need to know to communicate love to the rest of the world? Any takers? Ooh. Wait, what's your name? Rebecca. Rebecca says that you need one language to be able to communicate love. Anybody else? How many? Give me a number. What number is that specifically? Blossom thinks it's 0. Rebecca thinks it's 1. Anyone else? Any takers? Come on, guys. Don't be shy. You got this. I'm going to wait until I get number 3, because 3 is a magic number. So who's my last person that wants to guess? But you can't say 1 and you can't say 0, because those are already taken. Ooh, 3. What's your name? Nick. Nick says 3. Rebecca says 2. And Blossom says, Rebecca says 1. And Blossom says 0. You want to know the answer? It was a trick question. 0. Blossom is right. The question was, how many languages do you need to know to communicate love to the rest of the world? 0. 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7 says, love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It always protects, always trusts, and always hopes. Earlier, I spoke about Blossom talking about love. She said that word like 3 times. And remember, I said she had no clue that I was going to even talk about these things. That really, really confirms that the Lord's Spirit is absolutely here. And I'm so grateful for that. So when we go into talking about communication and how we love and what we need to do and how we do that, of course, and how that relates to parents and caregivers who have children with special needs, it's all about love first. That has to be our first thought in our head. I'm going to use the clicker. So we want to walk, right? We're walking in with the right perspective. Before we even get to talk about how we're going to support families and caregivers with special needs, how do we do that? How do we do that? The first thought, remember I said, is love. And what that does, it just opens up doors for hope for the parents, hope, peace, joy, and even contentment. All of those things are super, super duper important. Guys, I don't know about you, but when I wake up in the morning, I have to make sure that I'm focused. And when I say focused, if I am not feeding my thoughts with positivity, the day is going to be a horrible day. If I'm already thinking about, as soon as I get up in the morning, all the meetings I have to do, all the things I have to do when I get home with the kids, the weekend, and even though it's Monday, those thoughts really, really intentionally try to create such of a huge burden for us. And so I like to sit here so that you guys can make sure that love is always first, and our perspective when we are going to support anyone, I would say anyone, it has to start with love. And so when our minds are filled with our dreams and our expectations on how we want our children to be, and then maybe after a doctor's appointment or maybe a specific assessment, we get other information that kind of makes us feel completely the opposite. We're wondering, trying to figure out, what did I do wrong? How did this happen? And what am I going to do moving forward? And so when you make sure that you have the right perspective and love is your first expectation and not maybe a developmental chart sometimes, looking at our kiddos, things will land a little bit lighter for you. I'm going to click. I don't know if you guys are catching my little prompt, but I say I'm gonna click because I feel like the clicker isn't working, but I don't think you guys caught it, and maybe I shouldn't have said anything because you didn't catch that. But anyway, we'll keep going. When we continue to talk about parents and caregivers, it's important, very, very important to acknowledge. Number one, it does not matter if you're parenting a child with special needs or not. Parenting is hard. And if you are a parent or a caregiver of a child with special needs or any needs, you're a strong human. Okay, if you are, can you just pat yourself on the back? And even if you're not, pat yourself on the back because you are a human and it's hard. And earlier, remember I said, excuse me, that I'm very animated, and sometimes it's hard for people to take me serious because I'm so animated, but I was really serious about asking you to pat yourself on the back, no matter who you are. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Awesome. Parenting is absolutely hard. It's a hard job that requires multiple demands and daily sacrifices. In addition to that, mentally and physically, there are so many exhausting variables and so many exhausting days. Now, with all this information, I do need you to know that I love being a parent. And I know you all out there who are parents, I'm sure you also love being a parent. But realistically, somebody has to help us. no matter what age your child is, because it's not a walk in the park. However, some days you feel great, and then other days you're here, and then you start to think and ask yourself, what did I do wrong? Am I not doing enough? Could I do something better? Okay, what am I missing here? And those are serious questions that we continue to have, whether our kiddo is 2 or 25 or 55. I'm gonna click. In addition to all those things, which this is something that Blossom said, the stares in public can be horrible, horrific. Others begin to start whispering when they see you in public sometimes, and they'll make comments or they'll say things like, if I were you, I would just, da, 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 da. Or if I were you, I wouldn't let your child do that to you in public. Or they won't say anything, they'll just kind of stare at you. And in addition to that, others will just ask questions about your child, perhaps, on maybe things that you don't even know the answer. And it makes you just feel really uncomfortable and in just a yucky situation. And so when you're trying to manage all of these feelings, all of these things, you're looking for the support, you can't find it, you feel like you're going to drown. I'm gonna click. I'm gonna click. Perfect. See, this is love. This is love. As a church community, what can we do? I really want to get into talk about this a little bit more, because sometimes we don't really know what a parent is going through that has a child with special needs. We only see what we see. And I want to repeat that. We only see what we see. And full transparency moment. My 2 boys, they don't have a special need. My specific specialty comes from my credentials and my experience and my love for the field that I'm in. But in addition to just knowing that we don't know what someone else is experiencing at home, and as a church community, sometimes we forget how we can accommodate our precious, precious children and even more precious adults. Of course, we want to welcome everyone, right? We want to offer, by doing that, we can offer sensory-friendly accommodations. And I want to just talk about this amazing auditorium and how it was set up purposefully. I love it because it's allowing you to choose where you want to sit. I don't know if you probably caught on, but I didn't ask you to come in closer. Why? Because I believe that that's a part of an accommodation. Whether you have a child with special needs, whether you're an adult with special needs, or whether you're just an adult that just kind of likes your space. Doing things like this, making the room available for you to choose and not that you felt like you were forced to do something, is actually a very small accommodation that a lot of people don't really know. Have you ever been to like a speech or a presentation and they ask you to scooch in, or they ask, hey, let's take a picture at the end, and it kind of just makes you kind of feel like, I really don't want to do it, but everybody else is doing it, so maybe I should. And then you start thinking about all these things. So I say all that to say, this is a small but grand way to start to accommodate your congregation or any other places that you may visit. In addition to that, there are different services that you can absolutely provide, and those services may be dimming the lights. Right now, the lights are beautiful in here, and everything is gorgeous. Just kind of thinking about and remembering children with special needs, again, adults with special needs, but also over here, adults that may not have a specific diagnosis that prefer dimmer lights. And in addition to that, the sound, bringing the mic down a little bit on whoever is talking helps as well. Sometimes when it's really, really loud, it's overwhelming. Again, to not just children that have special needs or adults who have special needs, but just a person, a human being at the end of the day. In addition to that, limiting the amount of people in a specific section, not singling them out, absolutely no, or exclusion, but again, allowing the environment to be open, just like this is excellent, it's perfect, and then allowing you or whoever it is to choose. For example, I would absolutely have a kiddo if they were in here and maybe they had any special need, whatever it was, having them to choose, hey, where do you want to sit at? That's so small, but it's so huge, in the right environment, right, in the right context. And then, in addition to that, lessening the strict policies sometimes we have in churches or events. Sometimes we say, you cannot eat in here. But you don't know if this specific child has a restricted diet. You don't know if this time of the day is when that child or adult needs that specific food. And of course, I'm not saying that this church does it because clearly we're eating. However, these are just good little sprinkles to put in your mind and your thoughts to make sure that you remember these things. And I want you to carry them outside of here, whether you're a teacher, whether you are at your workplace. That's the perfect place. That's one of the big places that these small little sprinkles can really make a difference. Okay, I am going to click. Did y'all see how smooth? That was smooth. I want to get into taking care of you isn't selfish, it's necessary. So as parents, as aunts, as uncles, as daddies, mommies, grandparents, you have to put yourself first. And if I can be super transparent with you, I struggled with that, especially when my boys, I want to say when they're young, but they're still young. So when they first came into the world, I was always told and brought up that I had to make sure that they were first, and they were first, and they were first. And you know what that did to me? That made me burnt out. It made me very stressed and increased anxiety. And so I want to talk about your calmness. I call it the calmness state or the calmness in you. And what that means is that calmness, finding your calmness is you simply at your best. This is you living your best life, but pause. I'm not talking about living your best life on a vacation at the beach, like pumped up, you know. A lot of people in now, especially this society, when they say, I'm living my best life, they kind of relate to that, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where you're going to get your peace, where you're going to find your contentment, where you're going to find your joy, where you will be producing fruit. And how you're going to be patient and how you're going to be loving. And I want you to remember that this looks different for everyone. Your calmness or your state of calmness and how you're going to take care of yourself so that you can take care of your child with a special need or your adult with special need, or remember, or just yourself as an adult, is going to look different. And so in some of you, your calmness is going to look like willingness to hang out with your friends and family. But some of you may look the total opposite, that your calmness is there because you're not willing to hang out with your friends and your family. Just like Blossom was so transparent to say about her sweet boy, was that he doesn't like to be touched. That's not a bad thing. Sometimes we relate those small characteristics that may be a little bit different in others that are sometimes not maybe, quote unquote, people want to put the word normal, but what is normal? Just because you don't want to be touched, that doesn't mean that you're not in your state of calmness or you're not in a place of joy. And so other ones are smiles. Some people will smile their ear off and they're just so happy, and that shows that they're in their state of calmness, while others, when they just have a calm face, that's where they are. And I want to talk about also being alone. Being alone is huge for a lot of people because that helps them recharge. Others are like, hey, I gotta have you, come with me, please. Just stand close to me, let me feel you. That will help me to stay calm. Others are, like I said, hey, I'm gonna sit right here at this table by myself because this is where I can get my peace, this is where I feel good, and I can breathe for a second. And so going back to understanding how we take care of ourselves will look different for every single person, and that is absolutely okay. Again, you have to take care of yourself first before you can support a child who has a special need, an adult who has a special need, or just a human being. I'm gonna click. That one wasn't as smooth, but it's okay. I'm just kidding. Okay, going into a state of calmness, what about the opposite? What does it look like sometimes when you aren't in your state of calmness? And with these are more behaviors that are very specific and more triggers that suggest that you aren't in your state of calmness. This is not who you were meant to be on a daily basis. Okay, you're not meant to be easily frustrated on a daily basis. You're not meant to be overwhelmed on a daily basis, burnt out on a daily basis, feeling judgment, feeling that you're being judged on a daily basis. You're not meant to gossip on a daily basis. You're not meant to find or sit in jealousy on a daily basis. You're not meant to have impulsive behavior on a daily basis. Tired mentally and physically, placing the blame on everyone else but self, and your increased sense of screaming and yelling. You're not meant to be like this on a daily basis. I believe and I know that the Lord is not wanting that for us. And so when we do experience those things, we can breathe, right? We can realize that, hey, I'm screaming a lot at my kids right now, or I'm yelling a lot at my coworkers, and I'm not in my state of calmness. And the way that I'm going to be able to remember taking care of my child with special needs, or taking care of my adults with special needs, and or taking care of myself, this is not how I'm going to start with love. I don't know if you remember, we talked about love. I read that scripture, and just remember that that's where it starts, first with love. After that, we have to take care of ourselves as humans so that we can then support and pour into others. I'm going to click. You know, what's really funny is even though I know it's not working, I believe it. So even though when I say I'm going to click, I still click it. It just feels great. Okay, now after we're taking care of ourselves, another way to support those who have children with special needs, adults with special needs, or again, just adults in general, you have to find your people. Support groups are absolutely great for this. This is a great place to start. This is a great place to begin finding your support group. But what I will say is you do want to be careful. There are so many different support groups out there. Make sure you find the one that's safe, right? Whether you're going to go in person or online, making sure obviously you pray before you join anything, and your values match what those other people are doing as well. And other ways to do that also are volunteer work. You sharing your experiences helps build rapport with others and builds relationships. And so after you found those support groups and when you've done that, expand and start to share what you've experienced, just like Blossom did earlier. It was beautiful. It was a way to connect. It's a way to increase all of the good things and build so much love. I'm going to click. Perfection. Another thought is don't put all your eggs in one basket. I know you've heard about that a million times, but I want to explain. You have to be prepared to attend conferences. You have to be prepared to watch evidence-based YouTube videos or specific channels, and I will say evidence-based because there's a lot of things out there that are scary. I will say I recently heard a parent, and let me tell you this story. So one of the parents that I've worked closely with, she told me that her sweet daughter was she was basically just trying to help her daughter learn how to respond to her name. So she said that when she did research, the research told her to lock her child in a room, a dark room, and of course, mommy or daddy would be in the dark room, but it had to be pitch black dark, and then call her name. And so that just really built a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety. And I had to say, Mommy, stop, wait, don't do that. That is not how you're going to help your child respond to their name. And so, yes, make sure that you are watching evidence-based YouTube channels or any type of channels. Read evidence-based articles. Stay curious and open-minded, but I would say maybe not very gullible. Because gullible will absolutely put you in a dark room and making you believe that this is the route that I'm supposed to go when it's not. Don't rely on a single group to lead you. For example, teachers. A lot of parents, sometimes we depend on our teachers. And if you're a teacher out here, I commend you 100,000 times. You're awesome. Teachers are, if teachers could get $1 million, I think they should. Just because of all the hard work and everything that they pour into our sweet kiddos. However, depending on your teacher to give you all the answers will not help you. It will just frustrate you. And I am saying that just to say again, don't put all your eggs in one basket. The goal is to have your basket filled up with tools that you'll be able to easily pull out and use. So you don't want just one tool. You want multiple things to go to when you're in a maybe a state that is not as calm, or just a place to where you need more assistance and support. I'm going to click. Yay. Now we're going to talk about just how you're going to seek help, because there are times to where we feel like we can conquer the world, especially women. We think we have a cape, and I would say especially myself, if I'm being super transparent with you guys, I thought that I could do it all, and the Lord quickly showed me that I cannot, and I have to slow down. So you're only one person. You don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. But the Lord does, absolutely. And if perfection is what you're striving for as a parent, I really hope that this presentation was a wake-up call. If perfection in a way of supporting someone where you were just seeking, man, I'm gonna get all the answers. I'm gonna be able to change the world. Remember, it's not your job to change the world. You just are, we're just little seeds, and the Lord is going to give us water, and we will bloom on His timing. And with that being said, seeking help is another way to help us bloom, right? You want to seek help from a qualified professional regarding your specific situation. So if you are a parent of a child who has autism, you want to seek a specific credentialed professional to help guide you in that area. I'm going to click. With that being said, I want to make sure that we have ample time to discuss and just connect a little bit. I want to be able to chat with you all. I want you to be able to ask me questions about parenting, when it comes to children with special needs, whether it's autism. Remember, autism is my specialty, so if you ask me a question about autism, I'm likely going to answer it. However, if you ask me a question about maybe something else, like sports, I'm not gonna know. Seriously, I'm not gonna know. So I just want to open it up for us. I want you guys to throw some questions at me. Absolutely. Ooh, I'm going to repeat the question. This is a great question, and the question was specific to finding a diagnosis and or getting a diagnosis, and really how that lands for the family and after I don't want to say after life, but after diagnosis, correct? So, whoa, there's so many layers to peel here, but specifically, I would my very, very first thought would be, you have to remember who you are and whose you are. And a lot of the conversations I have with some of my patients or clients, obviously some are not believers, and that's absolutely okay. But I do try to change my verbiage to make sure that you guys understand, or they understand, that God created you a specific way, and that label is not who you are. So I would first start there for this context and this environment, to make sure that you aren't walking or holding on to something that was not specifically for you and your person, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't, but I'm going to continue to try to explain. In addition to those labels, they are scary, especially when kiddos go to school. And after school, when you graduate and then you find a job, when you're filling out the applications, they'll ask you if you have a specific disability and all those good things. Of course, there are laws behind those answers and how they're answered. But if you really think about it, if you are in this circle, right, you're really, really nervous about the label, and you don't really want to go get yourself tested or your child, think about the other bubble on what that's going to open up, the resources that you need, the understanding that will finally come. Full transparency, I have a friend. She is maybe in her early 40s, mid 40s, and she came up to me and she was like, Krisshonda, I really want to talk to you about autism, because I think it runs in my family, and I also think I have it too. And so what the reason why I brought her in that situation up was because of the diagnosis conversation. Because sometimes when we're in this bubble, we fear that, oh, then now there's going to be a label on me. Now people are going to look at me differently. But then years later down the road, when you start walking and you get over here, you're like, man, I kind of wish I would have done that so that I can kind of find maybe my peace, or I can kind of understand why I react to some of the things that I do. Another part of that question was really, really difficult because it is hard to find the right provider to help you when it comes to getting that diagnosis, especially if you're an adult. Don't get me started on insurance, because I'm not going to go there on what they should provide for adults. But I will say, to wrap this question up, don't fear. Step into the bubble of, okay, this is what I'm seeing with my kid. Maybe there's a possibility. You know what, just to be sure, or make sure that my child has all the right resources, I'm going to go do some research and I'm going to figure out which provider is the best provider. And or for yourself as an adult, I've been thinking about this, or I've seen this, and it's very similar to how I respond, and I think I'm gonna take that leap of faith. So that was a really long answer, but that's what I would say. Hey, Kristen. Mm. Mm. Yikes. Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm. Mm-hmm.
They put her on a ADHD medication for one day. I think it was Concerta. It changed her completely. It wasn't great. And so there's others we can try, but therapy-wise, she's an ABA 40 hours a week. What am I supposed to do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that would be my question. How do you teach an autistic girl how to control her impulses when I can't even teach her how to sense danger? How do you teach a child how to sense danger?
The question was,
A million questions.
no. The amazing question that just came was, how do you teach an autistic child, 7 years old, how to control their impulses so that that child can be safe? So I am going to try my best to answer this in a way that is very simple. The first thing, you have to meet your child where they are. I sense that when you were explaining your story, you said a lot of the things, I can't do this, I can't do this, and I can't do this. And that tells me that obviously you really want to do those things. There's a lot of restrictions for you that are frustrating. Absolutely. You want them to have fun. I want to say you said that 3 times already. Yeah, I'm a behavior analyst, so I'm constantly like going in my head. When I say meet your beautiful twins where they are, you said you want them to have fun, but they're already having fun. They're having, yes. Yes, your fun is defined by your experiences as a child and how you grew up. Their fun is not your fun. Some autistic children love to do this, and that's their fun. And they're jamming and they're going and they're going. Oh, that's your boy. That's his fun. You meet your babies where they are. That's my first one. The second one is when it comes to safety, I want you to, one, get a journal and maybe 2 separate journals, one for your sweet girl and one for your sweet boy. And then you said you had another daughter, 15-year-old. Oh, cool. So if you want to get a journal and get 2 of them and just start writing down your thoughts about safety, because I need you to narrow it down a little bit so that you can prioritize teaching safety one at a time. And safety, not your safety, but safety that is going to allow your kiddos, one, to understand especially where they are developmentally. Obviously, we're parents and we can see that, hey, dude, if you run in the street, something is not a good thing. However, your sweet babies right now, they don't understand that right now, but that doesn't mean they're never going to understand. And I would also encourage you to continue to speak with your BCBA because they're an ABA and let them know, hey, this is what is important to me as a mommy for my children right now. My children have been in ABA for 40 hours a week since they were 22 months. And now my daughter is 7. And now my son is 7. And what a lot of providers forget is that children with autism are higher likely to get molested when they're older because of those safety things. And so I say all that to not bring fear to you at all, but to make sure that you're communicating to the provider, hey, this is what is needed, that I see is needed for my children when it comes to safety, and is there a way that we can come together to put this in our plan? Or you come to the home. It also sounds like clinic setting may not be the best for your kiddos. Yeah. Even though they love it, they're growing. They're 7 now. They're not 22 months to where, it's more like play-based center. Now we have to start thinking about they're 7 now, then they're going to be 15 soon, and then 21. So switching maybe the settings could be something that you could talk to see talk to the provider to see if that's something that you guys can collaborate on and agree. No, no, no. And I put my QR code up there. If you just scan that, if anyone wants to scan it, it's going to take you straight to how you can get in contact with me. I thought I would be fancy today and do a QR code because my nieces told me that's the way to go in 2025. So that's what I did. Of course. Of course, of course. Any other thoughts? Yes, yes. What's your name? Hey, Courtney. Food refusal? School, school. Okay. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Your question specifically was that your sweet daughter is now not in a public school system. She is refusing to go to school, and you want to know what would be the next best steps. I heard you say we want her to go back to public school, like face to face. When you said we, does that include your 14-year-old daughter? Okay. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that the conversation and the decision was also, she was included in that, especially at her age. Just making sure that she's on board with the changes and the big changes, and also preparing her. Right now we're in May. Next school year is literally in 2 months. And so if you're really trying to get her in a face-to-face, like public school, the first thing I would do is make sure you're priming her daily on what the expectations will be for public school. Another great resource, and I say it all the time, but YouTube is a great resource on just maybe searching those specific schools. They pop up, and there's a visual there. She can see the actual building. She can see the even the inside of it. In addition to that, the question more, you wanted a little bit more detail on what you should be looking for the specific school. I do believe that it depends on your daughter's personality and her likes and her dislikes. Also, I would caution and ask, does she have to be at a public school? Are you open as parents to allowing her to continue with the education she's getting now? What is the she must go to a public school? Okay. Okay. So she's regressing in her academic skills. Okay. I Oh, she's oh. Got it. Have you guys considered counseling for her? Not counseling with the school. Me. Oh, perfect. She just started. October, like 7 months. Yeah, 7 months. Okay, I have other thoughts that I would love to chat with you guys privately, and we can explore some different options that will hopefully allow her to open her horizons, and as well as you guys, to make sure that you guys are collaborating as a family. And I say that again because of her age. You want to bring her in those big decisions, and you want to get that full picture of the why. Yeah. Okay. Let's connect. I would love to. What time is it, guys? Oh, it's 7:30. Okay. What about one more question? Yes. Wait, what's your name? Craig Davis.
I have an adult son who has 4 children of his own. He's in his second marriage. He exhibits all of the traits that you showed on about the third to the last slide, with the exception of jealousy.
Okay.
You know the slide.
Mm-hmm.
And he was diagnosed at about the age of 14 as bipolar and has been treated as such since with medication. He is currently out of control and off meds, or they're not working. I just bailed him out of jail twice. And he's lost his job because of that. So the whole situation's out of control, but he was diagnosed bipolar. Is there any chance that bipolar and autistic cross zones, or that just 2 different ways of saying the same thing? I think they're different diagnoses.
They're absolutely different diagnoses. When you think about, just picture a book with a lot of codes and numbers, and there's a specific number or code for autism, and there's a specific number or code for bipolar. Do the two overlap? Absolutely. Adults typically are misdiagnosed more when it comes to having autism, if that makes sense. There are a lot of adults that literally have autism that don't even know it. Good question. Is there a treatment for autism? Right now, the number one treatment for autism is ABA therapy, which is applied behavioral analysis. However, when we're talking about an adult with autism, there are resources, but very limited. I'll be transparent, for adults to have ABA and then insurance pay for it. Insurance is not going to pay for it. No worries. I believe the best case for your son is a provider called MetroCare. MetroCare is a nonprofit organization that is across, they serve all of Dallas, to East Texas. But the thing is, there's so many types of MetroCares. I will just have to do my research to figure out where the MetroCare is in East Texas. Yes. Sounds awesome. Guys, thank you for allowing me to be here. Thank you for allowing me to talk to you. I am very humbled by God's gift that He's given me. And I am I'm just a little emotional, just because when you realize what God is doing in your life and how He's setting you up to help other people, it's almost like surreal, because this is something that obviously I love, but being in the house of the Lord is just different, and it definitely feels great. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Krisshonda. And I know we have just like 1 or 2 minutes left, and we'll say thanks one more time in just a moment. But I just wanted to say, isn't it interesting? I think that we've discovered that special needs at all ages is something that many more of us have encountered and experienced, but we don't talk about it. It feels like it's the silent need in our culture. And when we can actually come and have someone who said, yeah, I hear, I understand, and even hearing, I didn't realize all the connections that we have. And for those who have adult children, there was a time when there weren't a lot of diagnoses. And it's hard when a child has grown up and they haven't gotten the help they need, and the vulnerabilities. There are so many vulnerabilities for children and adults with special needs. And when you think about, first of all, us as parents, what we want to do to help them, we want to do so much, but also as a church, we want to help protect people. We want to keep people safe. And this is an area that sometimes we don't know how to get into, because as we're like, we don't have that expertise. We don't know. But so many of us have that shared experience, and it just feels nice to be in a place where we know that people get us and support us. And for those who haven't had this experience, thank you for being here, because it just shows you care. And you're willing to be supportive. And next Wednesday, we'll have one follow-up session, just a little smaller conversation in the parlor. And I have a church member who has 30 years experience teaching in special ed. That's Laurie Lewis. And she and I are just going to have a conversation with those who'd like to just go a little deeper and just flesh it out. We could have gone a lot longer on the Q&A. They all want to grab you. But I just want you to know that if you have a heart for this and want to reach out and help families with special needs, let me know. We'll see what we can do as a church. If you have needs in your family, we have people in our church who want to be helpful and supportive, and we don't want you to feel alone. I cannot say that any more strongly. We don't want you to feel alone. We really care about you, and we're glad you're here today. But I really just want to thank Krisshonda. You are a blessing. We see your love for so many people, and thank you for the way you're helping families. Can you all thank her one more time? All right, and thanks, y'all. Have a great night.